This show is for women who train harder, think bigger, and live bolder. Here, we don't level up. We set the standard. Strength, strategy, success. I'm Katie Fleece. Welcome to The Smoke Show. There's a moment in every powerful woman's career when she realizes that the path that she might be on doesn't actually belong to her. It's not the one that she belongs on. But here's where most women get it wrong. They stay. They push. They grind harder, and they think that their problem is their effort, not their dedication, or not their direction, I should say. And then they call themselves failures for even thinking about changing course. And so they just stay on it and they're afraid to pivot. So today I'm here to burn that mindset to the ground. You are not quitting, you're evolving, okay? Because quitting means giving up on yourself. Pivoting means you're giving up on a strategy that isn't working for you. So I want to share a little personal story, but it is the most powerful decision I never thought I would ever make, literally ever. So for over 20 years, I defined myself by one title, and I was proud of that title. That title was entrepreneur. I built my business from nothing with zero loans, zero handouts, and I was proud of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm still proud of that. I went through crazy economic situations, all right? I made payroll. Everybody was paid when sometimes it seemed impossible and I didn't know where it was going to come from. I solved problems nobody else could solve or would be willing to solve. I made bold moves. But my identity was so wrapped up in being the owner, the founder, the boss, that I couldn't imagine any other path. I would often say, like, I'll never work for someone else, or I don't know how anybody could work for someone else. And I still understand that to a certain degree. I would say that with conviction. I would never give up control. I would tell other entrepreneurs over drinks, like, being my own boss is in my DNA. That's what I would say. And for over 2 decades, that was my truth until it wasn't. And this particular pivot, I don't think anybody saw coming, even myself. I still remember the moment I admitted to myself what I had been feeling for months. Honestly, way longer than that, probably more like years, probably like the better half of 2 years. And it was this. I didn't love it. I didn't love it anymore. Not the way I once had. Not with that fire that I once had that literally makes working 80 hours a week worth it. I wasn't obsessed anymore. I didn't have that same passion that justifies missing kids' ball games or, something, pausing my life to handle a client or a staff emergency. That entrepreneur identity that I had worn so proudly honestly felt increasingly awful. But it was like, what successful business owner walks away from their entire business? What would people think? Like, what would happen to my reputation, my legacy, my team? These are the kinds of questions that really kept me stuck in a role that I had outgrown for longer than I care to admit. And then when the opportunity came to become the face and the brand of the women's division of Superhuman, which, by the way, is now the largest and fastest growing online coaching company in the world, okay? Whoop, whoop. But it honestly came at the most amazing time. because we actually sold our brick and mortar business back in 2022, and we went solely online. And ever since that moment, I had literally prayed and journaled every single morning. I did not miss a morning for years, that God would give me another opportunity. And not just another opportunity, but that he would make it so freaking obvious, that he would literally lay it in my lap. And then he did. This happened. The chance to impact thousands of more lives that I would never even have the capacity to impact had I had stayed where I stayed where I was at. Sorry, apparently words are hard for me today. It was going to give me the freedom from headaches that I just no longer desired anymore. It was going to give me the ability to focus on what I love doing the most, connecting with people, sharing knowledge, driving vision, while also letting go of something that had become just not enjoyable, that had something that had become so draining. And the entrepreneur in me saw it as surrender. The evolving part of me, it recognized it as strategic. It was a chance for me to advance. It wasn't something that I was quitting. And so here's what I've learned that I wish someone had told me sooner. True entrepreneurship isn't about owning a business. It's about owning your decisions. And ironically, walking away from being the business owner was the most entrepreneurial move I've actually ever made, because it required the exact qualities that made me a successful founder: the courage to disrupt, the vision to see potential others missed, the ability to calculate risk versus reward, the willingness to disappoint others, to follow my intuition, the strategic thinking to leverage my strengths in new ways. And I don't look at it like I abandon entrepreneurship. I look at it as though I evolved. I just evolved from it. And so here's what my big life-changing pivot taught me about power. You see, we think power comes from titles, from ownership, from having control over everything, but real power is mobility, right? The ability to assess your current position honestly and then make moves others are too afraid to make. And as the face and the brand of the women's division here at Superhuman, I've been able to impact so many more lives in really just a very short amount of time than I did in over a decade or 2 decades even as a business owner. This has allowed me to focus exclusively on my zone of genius instead of, you know how it is, like getting pulled into a million different directions, like putting out fires, handling crisis, like all the things. It's allowed me to build real wealth without the constant anxiety of being responsible for everything and everyone. It's helped me rediscover the joy and the passion that, quite honestly, had been slowly fading away, and create a place of abundance rather than like a scarcity mindset so often. So I wanted to share the questions that literally changed everything. Hey, it's Katie Fleece, head of the female division of Superhuman and your host here on Smoke Show. Listen, if you've been waiting for a sign to go after your strongest, fittest, hottest body, this is it. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need anyone else's permission. It's time to claim the body and the life you deserve. Go to smokeshowbody.com and take the first step toward building the ultimate version of you. Now back to the show. So if you're standing at a similar crossroads, here are some questions that finally broke through my initial resistance, okay? Here we go. If I removed everyone else's opinions from the equation, what would I choose? Next, ask yourself, am I staying because I truly love this or because I'm afraid of what change might mean for my identity? Then ask yourself, what would I advise my daughter, my sister, my best friend to do if she were in my position? What parts of my current role energize me and what parts drain me? You can literally make a side-by-side list. If I make the change and it doesn't work out, what is the worst that could happen? Could I recover? The last one, 10 years from now, will I regret not making this decision? Answer all of those. I'm telling you, your answers might surprise you. So you can redefine success on your own terms. You can decide for yourself what it means. And I'm here to tell you that it can be the boldest step up you ever take. My pivot, it wasn't about walking away from entrepreneurship. It was about walking toward a more aligned expression of my gifts that I knew that I had to share. And quite honestly, in the role that I was previously in, I was not able to express them like I had hoped. And that, my friends, is the most powerful move of all. You see, your pivot is not failure. It's not failure. It's a course correction. And here's the thing, your past self made the best decision she could, okay? So honor her choices without being imprisoned by them. The woman who spent a decade or two, climbing that corporate ladder, if that is you, amazing. And you did that because, maybe it offered security and maybe you had a childhood that didn't have that. Amazing. So you're not betraying that girl by choosing a different path now because that path provided exactly what was needed, exactly when you needed it. Stability, credentials, security. But now that girl can build something different on that foundation. That girl, she didn't have the information, the experience. She didn't have the perspective that you have now. Or maybe you're a founder who created, a business model based on being available 24/7 for clients. That was me. Led to burnout. So I get it, but you wouldn't have known any better. You wouldn't have known how unsustainable that would be as a business owner. The insight that this model is broken isn't a failure. It's just, you lived and you learned. Now you've got that knowledge and you can move forward. So you've earned this perspective through experience and you have to go through the shit sometimes to get there, to learn it. But staying loyal to the decisions that you once made, girlfriend, that is so outdated. It's disrespecting your present. Other people's expectations are the problem. Okay? It's their problem, not your problem. Okay? You hear me? All right, so before I end this episode, this is what I want to say. If you're standing at a crossroads, behind you is the path that got you here. But ahead of you, gosh, there are so many possibilities. And by the way, they may require you to disappoint somebody. Maybe your mentor, maybe your family, maybe the version of you that you thought you were supposed to be. Listen, choose disappointment over regret every time. Because 10 years from now, you're not going to answer to those people. You'll answer to the woman who trusted you to make the right choice when everything in you was screaming for change, okay? You're going to answer to the legacy you built. But you got to give yourself permission first. So if you've been waiting for a sign and you feel unsure, you feel stuck, you know that you're made for more, consider this your permission to pivot. See you next time. Stay strong, stay strategic, stay unapologetic. This is Smoke Show.